afternoon. Can you hear me in the back? I need to practice for American Idol finals tonight. Go for it! So welcome. We're at a new venue, but it's mostly a lot of the same faces. For our agenda today, we needed some tables, so now we are truly collaborative in style because we're sitting at round tables, which is where our comfort zone is. So I just wanted to welcome everyone and thank you for taking the time today in this kind of odd May weather in a new location, and we're still mostly a full house because we're really getting into the exciting part of this grant work together. We've laid our foundation together and we're very close to identifying the areas that we will be doing our focused citizen planning. So please stay engaged, please bring your friends and partners because we're about to push even to a more neighborhood scale on our work together. So you are very important to us today. As we go through today, we're going to have an opportunity to review and add to what we've heard in the 4 working groups that many of you have likely participated in. All of the 4 working groups have had at least one meeting, some of them more, but we have received input from all of them, and we have materials today that summarizes that input and begins to organize it around the values and principles of our grant work, as well as the blueprint, which many of you may have participated in for our region as well. This should start to get a little less muddy, a little more focused, and a lot more effective as we move forward into those action plans. So today we're going to get your help in prioritizing the performance measures for our regional plan for sustainable development and get input on the TPA projects that were submitted to us. So many of you may recall that the grant was to help us as we move through our MTP process, focus in on 4 to 5 transit priority areas to build action plans that involve collaborative community scale planning with a local government partner and stakeholders and public agencies that sort of converge to look at what makes a complete community. So the process moving forward is that we asked our local government partners, of which SACOG has 28 local government member jurisdictions, to submit areas where they had a threshold for either current or upcoming transit service that would allow for that 15-minute service, quarter-mile focus area. And so today we will get to see what those submissions to SACOG were from our member jurisdictions, and then you may have some insights because these transportation priority areas are in a community where you live or work or have been focusing in some other research effort, and so we would love to hear that input as well. And then we will provide that input into the consideration process in June. As we mentioned at the last consortium meeting, how many of you were here when we were at SMUD last month? Great. So as you recall, we had Ethan from, is he here today? Adrian, thank you. From the Urban Land Institute, and as we move forward, there will be a group of key partners that the Urban Land Institute will facilitate that will address all of your input in looking at those transit priority areas that were submitted from our local government. We will learn in that process. And then we will bring it back to you at the next consortium meeting and explain how that process went and give you some feedback on what we heard from the SACOG board. And just as a reminder, the SACOG board is made up of local elected officials from each of those member jurisdictions. And so they will take a board action before we see you again. And when we come back, we will have the 4 to 5 TPAs. We'll be ready to dig in on those. And so with that, today is a pretty big milestone as we move into that selection process, as we start to dovetail this work with our MTP and the environmental review that will help accelerate that transit-oriented development in those locations by getting started on the environmental review. And then we will start building in phase 3 the regional plan for sustainable development. And that will be the overarching document that will not only influence the action plans in those 4 or 5 transit priority areas, but it will underpin the sustainable community strategy that comes with our metropolitan transportation plan. So it will have an opportunity to influence all of the linkages between land use and transportation and development in our region for our member jurisdictions to draw from as a resource. Should I stop there? Okay, great. So let me stop there. I think that gives you a good project update. See if we have any questions. Oh, good, I see some nodding heads. Bobbleheads are good. Do we have any questions? That means we're still all on the same page. That's great. And with that, I'm going to invite up Sharon, who's going to walk us through 2 exercises to make sure that the information that we believe we have gleaned from our working groups is as complete as our current membership of the consortium is able to assist us with. And you will have an opportunity to help us identify if there's something that we need to add to those considerations before we go into this.